Welcome to your first ever screencast-o-matic of a lecture. It's exciting. Anywho, we are starting chapter 14. I am sick and don't want to lecture all day, so I'm recording this once and making you all watch it. How smart am I? Okay, anyway, we are starting the heart. This will be day 1. We're going to look at where the heart is, what chambers it has, look at the valves, a couple disorders, and the sounds. You can follow along with your on-task worksheet and get all of this vocab here. And all you have to do is just pause me at any time, right? So I don't have to slow down. I can just keep rolling. And when you come to a vocab term, you can just hit pause, type it down, and move on when you're ready. Isn't that awesome? I know. I think so too. Okay. So, the heart, it is a triangular organ located in the mediastinum, or right kind of almost in the middle of the chest. 2/3 of the mass of the heart on the left side of the body midline and 1/3 to the right. The apex or top is on, or the apex, the pointy part, is sitting on the diaphragm. Shape and size of a closed fist. Let's take a look. Oh, there we are. There's our heart. Kind of triangle-y, I guess. Not really. But anyway, you can see the apex is this bottom part. It is sitting down here on the diaphragm. 1/3 of it is on the right side of your chest, and 2/3 of it is over here on the left. To accommodate the heart, interesting side fact, is that the lungs on the right have 1, 2, 3 lobes. The lungs on the left only have 1 big and a small lobe, so 2. So the lungs on your left-hand side are missing a lobe, and that's to make up for the fact that the heart is sitting right in there. Pretty sweet. Okay. CPR, or cardiopulmonary resuscitation, is only made possible because of our fascinating heart and where it lies. It is literally in between the sternum and the body of the thoracic vertebrae in your spine. And so when you push on the front of the chest on the sternum, you are compressing the heart between the sternum and the vertebrae, and that will cause the blood to flow. Boom. Throw in some artificial respiration and you can save a life. Awesome. You should get CPR certified and put it on your college resumes because that makes you look cool. Okay, here's a couple vocab terms. But again, you can hit pause and I can keep going, right? And all you need to know about these are they are the chambers. So you have 2 chambers on the top called the atria, and then you got 2 lower chambers called the ventricles. So a total of 4 chambers in your heart. The atria are the receiving chambers, meaning the blood is coming back from the body and going into the atria. The atria then dumps the blood into the ventricles, and those are the larger ones that pump the blood out to the body or to the lungs. Pretty sweet. Oh, questions already. Again, pause me. Scroll, go rewind. Look up answers. How easy is that, huh? Number 1, what are the 2 upper chambers called and what do they do? And then 2, what are lower chambers called and what do they do? Pause, type, come back, more me. Okay, time for me. Wall of each heart chamber is composed of cardiac muscle tissue, aka myocardium. The smooth lining of the heart chamber, so the inside now, is called the endocardium. And if you ever happen to have inflammation of the endocardium, it is called endocarditis. And inflammation of the endocardium can become rough and abrasive and thereby cause a thrombus, which we know is a blood clot that is attached, right? And then if that unattaches, you got an embolus now, and that can just cause damage. Anyway, myocardium, muscle of the heart. Endocardium, the smooth lining of the heart chambers. Pericardium is the second or the third cardium we have, right? Cardium. So the pericardium is a double-layered fibrous sac with a lubricated space between those 2 layers that basically keeps our heart jolt-free. It's like a protective sac. The inner layer of this sac, because it is 2 layers, is called the visceral pericardium because it is literally touching the heart. outer layer is called the parietal pericardium because it is touching like the wall of the chest cavity. Pericarditis is inflammation of the pericardium. We got the cardiac tamponade. Don't worry about it, but that is compression of the heart caused by fluid building up between the visceral pericardium and the parietal pericardium. That's bad news when you got fluid building up between these two layers up here because that can compress the heart, cause it not to beat as well. But is that vocab? No. Is it a disorder? Yes. Are we really going to spend a lot of time on that? No. Right? No. Look at this. Spend time on that. Okay, here is a little chunk they have taken out of the right ventricle on the heart. And yes, this is the right side because remember our good old, if you're looking at it, you kind of got to turn yourself and put it like in your body and be like, oh yeah, that's the right side, that's the left side. So here, up on top, we have the right atrium and the left atrium. Right here, this big chamber is the right ventricle, and the left ventricle is over there. Bunch of stuff, pretty much like all this stuff we're going to get to, right? All the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava is over here. We're going to know pretty much all this stuff. Kind of cool. Okay, contraction of the heart is called systole, and relaxation of the heart is called diastole, and that's what gives us our heart sounds. When the heart is squeezing or in systole, it's like squeezing blood from one chamber into the next, or it's squeezing blood out of a chamber into an artery. Cool thing about our heart, I guess since we're right here and we have all these valves we can look at in advance, your heart has valves in it that are called backflow valves that prevent, like when the ventricle is squeezing here, prevents blood from being pushed back up into the atrium. And the same thing over here when the ventricle is all done squeezing and the blood gets pushed up into this pulmonary trunk here, there's this another valve there that like prevents the blood from like moving back down into the ventricle. So you have these cool valves, one here, one there, there's another one on the left side, and another one over here in the aorta. So 4 chambers, 4 valves. Woo! Piece of cake. Okay, let's look at these valves. Valves that keep the blood flowing through the heart, they prevent backflow. I just said that. You have 2 AV valves, or atrioventricle valves. That means they go between the atrium and the ventricle. So you have the right atrium and right ventricle, and over here is left atrium, left ventricle. So the AV valves are right here and right here, right? They go between the atrium and the ventricle. The, let's see, tricuspid is at the opening of the right atrium into the ventricle, here. And the bicuspid is at the opening of the left atrium into the ventricle, so here, right? Boom. Try before you buy. To always say. Okay, tricuspid, bicuspid. All right, there are 2 more valves, a pulmonary semilunar valve and the aortic semilunar valve. These guys, the pulmonary and aortic, give you like the direction of where they're at. So the pulmonary semilunar is at the beginning of the pulmonary artery, and the aortic semilunar is at the beginning of the aorta. So let's take a look at that. Right here, we have the pulmonary trunk. This is the pulmonary semilunar valve. Over here is this whole big old arch thing is the aorta. So the aortic semilunar valve is the valve in the aorta. Piece of cake. Right. 4 chambers, 4 valves. We are good on that. Let's see. Valve disorders. There are some issues with that. Valves can become leaky, not shut all the way. You could be born like that, or get rheumatic heart disease when you're a kid and cause bad things to happen to your heart valves. Sometimes they even replace your heart valves with a pig heart valve. But it's cool. It still works. Mitral valve prolapse is the incompetence of a mitral valve caused by its edges extending back in the left atrium when the ventricle contracts. What the heck? Oh man, is that? Basically, the valve is not preventing backflow of blood like it should, and it causes issues. Okay, here again is the mitral valve prolapse. It is supposed to keep blood from going like it comes down from the left atrium into the left ventricle. And when the left ventricle is squeezing, no blood is supposed to come back up in the left atrium. But when you have a prolapsed mitral valve, blood is able to squeeze back up in there, and it kind of throws off the whole rhythmic pumping of the heart. Okay, heart sounds. First sound is the lub. Second sound is the dup or dub. And then you get the lub-dub cycle. Lub is created by the vibration of the closure of the AV valve during the contraction of the ventricle. And then the second sound, the dup or dub, is caused by the closure of the semilunar valve. So literally, those valves closing, you can hear it. That's what you're hearing in your heartbeat. Heart murmurs are abnormally fast heart sounds, often caused by abnormal valves. Oh my goodness. Did we just do an entire lecture that quickly because I didn't have to stop and tell anyone to calm down and listen to me and all of that business? We did. Do your closure. You can chat with your neighbors or whatever you like, but basically you have two valves that separate the atrium from the ventricles. What are they? You have another two valves that keep the blood from entering back into the ventricles. Those are the ones that are semilunar. What are their names? Easy peasy first day. Make sure you got your on-task worksheet all filled out, and then move on to the heart anatomy little project we got. Ha ha ha, that's a fun one.